That is good at the end of this first quarter, and Kemba Walker, what a performance in the first.
It's the NBA offseason, and like every other offseason, rumors about trades are already swirling about. Of course, there are the obvious big-name trades like James Harden and Russell Westbrook, but while we're all focused on that, we may be losing sight of a trade that might heavily impact the NBA next season, the trade of Kemba Walker. In today's video, we'll be talking about Kemba Walker, the Celtics, an impending trade, and the different forms that this trade may take.
But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple.
The all-important question is, will the Celtics get rid of Kemba Walker? Well, we don't know, but it appears that they're at least considering the possibility of letting Walker go. It seems that they've even made him available in certain trade discussions. You may think, well, it's just one trade. This surely is not that important. But you'd be wrong. Just last offseason, the LA Lakers traded for Anthony Davis in a deal that blew everyone away, and they managed to snatch their 17th NBA championship as a result. Just 2 years ago, Kawhi Leonard joined the Toronto Raptors in a trade, and that season, they won their first championship. Going by this, it's likely that trade this season could determine the winner of the championships next season, or at least heavily influence it. Now, we aren't saying that Kemba Walker is influential enough to decide an NBA race. We're just saying that if the Celtics play their cards right, they could get some decent players for Kemba, and that could lead them to the finals. But wait, before we get into all of that, what do we know so far about this trade thing? Is it all rumor, or is it actually going to happen? Well, here's what we know. According to Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer, the Celtics have started asking about teams that may be interested in Kemba. Wait, that sounds a bit mild. The reality is way wilder. The rumors going around says that Danny Ainge, Celtics general manager, was hawking Kemba to NBA teams in exchange to move up into the top 10. The question now is, why? Well, it appears that the Celtics had somewhat advanced conversations with the New Orleans Pelicans about a deal that would bring Drew Holiday to Boston for Gordon Hayward and 3 first-round picks. And yeah, those were the picks that Ainge was hawking Kemba around for. Yeah, you got that right. The Celtics were trying to get Holiday by trading Kemba to the Chicago Bulls for draft picks, and then trade draft picks for Holiday. Of course, this sounds pretty unlikely. After all, the Celtics signed him to a max contract last season. They wouldn't do that if they planned to trade him off just 1 year later. Or perhaps that's exactly what they would do. We don't know. Kemba, even at 30, had a reasonably good season. He averaged about 20.4 points, 3.9 and 4.8 assists on 43% shooting from the field in his first season. Those are certainly not bad numbers, but yet it seems he's now on the trading block. The only reason for this is that Boston is worried about the wear and tear on Kemba's knees. This makes a lot of sense given the history that the team has had with players who are heavily reliant on athleticism and speed, like Isaiah Thomas, for example. They probably have learned from those episodes and have figured out that it's better to err on the side of caution when dealing with them. That's the only way that any part of this rumor makes any sense. However, we won't deny that there is some argument to be made about Kemba sticking out like a sore thumb in the team. The Celtics are trying to build their team around young players like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. In this new setup, Kemba may not be that important anymore. If he is that dispensable, it makes sense for the Celtics to try and move him on for someone a bit better at defense like Holiday, for example. In any case, we'll see. If the Celtics did decide to move Kemba on, what would they gain? Well, they stand to gain an abundance of draft assets for the future, and they could also get 1 or 2 young players with mountains of potential that could push them over the edge and help them clinch their 18th championship. However, a delicate balance would have to be hit for that to happen. It appears that Boston Celtics were at least trying to get Drew Holiday, and one of the paths to getting him was moving Kemba for picks and then trading those for Holiday. But that entire scenario got blown up in real time when Holiday got traded to the Bucks. So no, Boston Celtics will not be getting their first choice man. This doesn't mean they wouldn't still try to move Kemba. It just means that it's not very likely now. But we can still dream. If by some twist of fate and basketball magic, Kemba does get traded to the Chicago Bulls, how would that look? Well, first off, we'd have to ask what value Walker has on the market. He's still a really good player, and last season showed that. But teams would be rightly suspicious of the Celtics trying to move him on after just 1 season. They would rightly be concerned about his knees, just like Ainge is now. If they share Ainge's concern, which has no doubt been widely advertised by the hawking of Kemba around, they likely wouldn't value Kemba as highly as the Celtics did when they got him last offseason. Now, about the Bulls. Before Holiday went to the Bucks, there was a real chance for the Bulls to get Ainge the picks he wanted for Holiday. It's important to note that Ainge didn't go meeting the Bulls for a trade. Instead, the Bulls called Ainge up. This probably means means that Zach LaVine could be on the trade block. If that's the case, here's how a potential deal may look. The Bulls would get Kemba Walker and the 14th pick, while Celtics would get Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and Wendell Carter. While you may say that's too much for the Bulls to offer up, and we agree, stranger things have happened during off-seasons. But ultimately, this trade isn't too likely. There are too many players and too many variables at play, and they would all have to align perfectly for this to even happen. For example, the Bulls have been linked to star point guard LaMelo Ball at number 4 overall in Wednesday's NBA draft. If that goes well, there would simply be no need for Kemba at the Bulls. But that's just one scenario out of many. Now that we know the Celtics are open to the idea of moving Kemba on, here's another trade that they may get into before the offseason ends. That trade involves the Cleveland Cavaliers. Over the last campaign, it became increasingly obvious that the Celtics needed a legitimate power forward. Sure, Jason Tatum was not terrible as the team's starting 4 throughout the 2019-2020 season, but most fans agree that he would be better playing in his natural position, the 3. Now, the Celtics don't only need a power forward, they also need one who's a reliable floor spacer too. There's one player that fits the bill to the T, and it's Kevin Love. He's a 5-time All-Star and is coming off a really good season with the Cavaliers. If the Celtics can somehow get Kevin Love on their team, it would tremendously boost their offensive production. With Kevin playing the power forward position and Tatum playing on the wings, it would give the team loads of offensive options and let them hit opponents in many different ways. But how would that pan out? Well, hypothetically, the Celtics would get Kevin Love, 2018 lottery-selected point guard Colin Sexton, a 2022 second-round pick, and a 2024 first-round pick. The Cavaliers, on the other hand, would get Kemba Walker, Romeo Langford, Grant Williams, and a future second-round pick. This trade would make a lot of sense for the Celtics because they would be getting 2 big-time shooters in Love and Sexton. By having Sexton and Love, the Celtics will be able to move the ball around a lot more on the perimeter, and the shooting pressure would ease off Brown and Tatum. But again, that depends on why Kemba is being moved on. If he's being moved on because the Celtics want to build a younger team around Brown and Tatum, bringing in a big name like Love would be like exchanging one problem for a bigger one. Besides, Kevin Love isn't injury-free either, and is 2 whole years older than Kemba. That's something Ainge would want to avoid, so don't keep your fingers crossed. Aside from the Kemba Cavaliers trade, there's another route that Kemba could take to lead the Celtics. The Orlando Magic have been looking for more help at the point guard position for a while now, and while Markelle Fultz looks like he's on the way to being the player his potential promises that he can be, it may take him a while for that potential to fully manifest. In the interim, the team will need someone to propel the team forward, and that person could be Kemba Walker. If a potential trade were to happen, it would probably look something like this. The Magic will receive Walker and Carson Edwards, while the Boston Celtics would receive Aaron Gordon, Terrence Ross, Al-Farouq Aminu, 2021 first-round pick, lottery protected. In this trade, Orlando Magic would get the point guard star they want and need so much, and Boston Celtics would get complementary stars that will help them continue building their team and perhaps push for the championship. Now, this trade won't get the Orlando Magic to the NBA Final, but it'll certainly improve their roster and help them climb higher. For the Boston Celtics, who are a win-now team, this should be a pretty easy buy. The team made a run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so it's clear that they've got what it takes to go all the way, and Aaron Gordon would be a solid player to complement Tatum and Brown. Since he can play at multiple positions and is very good defensively, he'd give the team that stability they're so in need of. But again, this scenario depends on lots of chips falling in the right place and on the Celtics' willingness to move Kemba on. Right now, that trade doesn't seem likely, as Drew Holiday, the Celtics' first choice, has made his move. So don't be surprised if the new season starts with Kemba in the same team. We feel that the Celtics would either get their number 1 target or get nothing at all. That's it, guys. Goodbye, and remember to stay safe.